Every scar has a story. Every story has a purpose. From the pain to the healing, there's hope beyond the surface. Every story matters. Every story matters. Welcome to Couch Conversations.
Hi, that's my jam, y'all. I'm so excited, y'all. This is the very first episode of Couch Conversations podcast, and I think excited is definitely an understatement. Y'all, I have an amazing guest that will be the very first guest on tonight's show. So, this woman of God, we literally met in person once before, and then it wasn't until after the fact that we met that we was like, we was like literally next to each other at this event. We were both nominated for a Woman of Power Award for Houston. This woman of God has been awarded for being an entrepreneur. She is a serialpreneur. She is the CEO and owner of AMG Tax Solutions. She is a coach for grief counseling. She is a 3-time best-selling author, okay? If I could put what it looks like to be poised with power, this woman of God definitely embodies that. And so I am just elated to have her joining us. And so I want to introduce to some and reintroduce to others my guest, Miss April Greene.
Hi.
Hey! I'm so excited to have you, woman of God. You are super amazing, and I want to thank you for agreeing and for just being willing to just share your story. I believe that, this is a platform where I believe that God is like just requiring transparency from a lot of people from certain seasons they walk through. And I feel like these are things that aren't really talked about, that people actually deal with or they go through or they have grown through within life. But we just kind of sit and talk about it with our girlfriends on the phone, or we sit and talk about it with our friends on the couch. And so I wanted to bring couch conversations to an open platform so that, we can show people what vulnerability looks like. I had a mentor that has always stuck with the phrase that vulnerability breeds transparency. And so I believe that when we're transparent, people can be like, yo, I can identify with that. I've been through that. Oh, wow, she went through the same thing I went through. And so to hear that people can go through certain things and you hear it talked about, I think is very powerful, and it can be fruitful to other people. And so your story was definitely a story that I felt was needed to be talked about. And I saw some similarities, within your story through your submission of your application. And I'm like, wow, we went through a lot of the same things. And I'm just excited to have you on. So welcome.
Absolutely. I'm so honored to be here tonight. So
Amen. Amen. And you looking beautiful
thank
as
you.
always.
You as well. Thank you.
Thank you. So, okay, so I know that you are one that has, which I believe a lot of people have went through this, but you just were bold enough to be honest and to talk about it and to be transparent and vulnerable about it. A lot of people deal with grief, the trauma of grief, with losing loved ones. I myself has been a product of it, losing my dad at the age of 13. He was found hanging from a ceiling fan. So that was traumatic, not being able to sleep at night. Because in my mind, I have this mental image of somebody hanging from a ceiling fan, and it was my dad, so it
Yes.
breeded a level of fear, trauma, and then losing a brother, a sibling. And I know that's something that you went through, losing both parents and losing a sibling. And I think, there's something that is a little deeper even when it comes to siblings, because these are people, especially if you grew up in hard circumstances, like y'all grew up by way of hard knock. We struggled together, we went through things together, okay, we slept on the floor together. So
Yes.
I want to tell me about how that was, the transition from losing mom, then to losing dad, and then to losing your brother, and what did that season look like for you? You got the floor.
Thank you. So this is my first time sharing all of this publicly. um I kind of went through it privately. Like God had told me that He was going to allow me to agree with grace, and we'll go more into that. But yeah, in the year 2021, I had that whole year was kind of just so strange and different, right? But it was already God ordained. I had took a public, like a prophetic invitation where I did like a Facebook Live with someone, and my mom was on there. I was so honored. I think it was back in September, and she passed in November 2021. I also had launched my first book that year, so she, partaked in that. So all of that, right? So in November of 2021, I lost my mom. That day, I was actually at a friend's event, was going to go to a friend's event, and I get a call, and they didn't really know what was going on with her. And immediately I start calling some of my prayer warriors that I know that prayers would touch heaven. And I was like, I need you to pray for my mom. I need you to work. I need God to work a miracle for her. I'm trying to get flights out in Mississippi because they was calling me and telling me to get there. And so I'm like, I can't get a flight out, but I just immediately stopped and I said, Lord, you the same God in Mississippi that you is here in Texas. And I need you to see about my mom. I need you to work a miracle. And so as I was driving, I was like, because I'm driving home back to my daughter. And I said, Lord, I don't want to hear any bad news. And immediately the Lord told me to pray his will be done. And so I said, Lord, I pray your will be done, not knowing what I was praying at the moment. Soon as I get home, cut the engine off, I get the call that she had passed away. And so my whole life flashed before me because I didn't really know how to live beyond that moment, how to live without my mom. And so at that moment, I go to Mississippi. I stayed there like a month or whatever. But the Lord told me in that moment, as he was ministering to me just through different friends, he said that he was going to allow me to agree with grace. And so he really did. That next year, I just started, I don't know. I know I asked God to allow me to live beyond that moment. Like I said, he told me that he will allow me to agree with grace. I didn't know what that meant. In the midst of that, losing my mom, I was just losing a lot. I felt like Job. I felt like God was just taking and stripping a lot of things away from me. Friendships that I'd known years, people that I thought were going to be there that wasn't. And in that moment of me just going through therapy, my therapist was like, some people probably can't even relate to what you're relating to because they still have their mom. They still have their parents. They don't even know how to show up for you. But I was still dealing with hurt and I just didn't understand that. So I just created this wall up. Fast forward 2022 to 2024. In the midst of that, everything was kind of going good. Then we started getting news about my father. His health was declining. We found out he had got lung cancer, and then he just, his health just started declining. In that moment, I didn't know that as I was going through therapy that I was grieving him and he was still here. And my therapist one day said, you grieving him and he's still here. You have to grieve the fact of him declining. You have to grieve the fact that they're telling us that he's not going to live beyond 6 months, and he lived beyond 6 months, over a year after what they told us. That particular year, it was March 29th. I would never forget it. It was Good Friday, 2024. March 29th, 2024 was Good Friday. I did not know at the time that they had already told my siblings that he would not live past that day. But of course, they didn't tell me that because I'm heading from Houston, Texas, to Mississippi. And I remember that morning they said he wasn't talking to nobody else. I get on the face call with all of my siblings, and I called his name and I said, I'm coming to see you. And he said, hey, April. He knew me. They said he wasn't talking to nobody that day. And I remember telling him that I'm coming, and I'll be there in a minute. It was so many detours in that 6-hour trip that I think it was maybe 7.5 hours because we had to do a whole detour that day. When I got there and got into the nursing, he was in a nursing home, and when I went into his room, I just seen death all over him. Immediately I knew. They still didn't tell me that what the hospice had told them, basically told them. And like 2 hours later, he passed away. So I know he was holding on for me. He was waiting on me. I had peace knowing that, right? I had peace knowing that it was Good Friday, and we already know what Good Friday represents. And so, dealing with that, dealing on losing my mom, now losing my father, trying to
Jesus.
get back into the sense of things. So I'm coming back to Texas, trying to get my life back together, right? Trying to get my life, basically trying to live beyond that, and then trying to live in the normalcy of it will never be the same anymore, right? So 30 days later, April 29th, I had just started a new career that morning, and all of us that when our parents passed away, we just agreed that we'll get closer, of course, and that we would get on FaceTime every morning. So that's what we did. But this particular morning, I'm rushing to get back on to do my orientation for the first day of this job that has started at 8 o'clock. So I'm not thinking who's on the call and who's not on the call. I had just dropped my daughter off at school, and I had told my sisters and my niece, I was like, I got this job, I won't be available, to talk or whatever. Like 30 minutes later, I keep getting these calls from them, and I'm like, they know that I'm at orientation, I can't answer. And they said, pick up. And when they said pick up and they called his name, my brother's name, I just dropped the phone. I don't even remember what they said. In that moment, if my whole heart, my soul, I don't know, I just was in shock. And I remember pacing back and forth in the apartment complex. I'm outside screaming, and I'm not understanding. I don't know what's going on, but they basically said that he's gone, and I'm like, he's gone out, because then I started looking on Instagram. I was like, me and him just was communicating through Instagram like 15 hours ago. So I'm trying to calculate like what happened, what's going on, and the Lord started ministering me then. He had passed away at the age of 32. That's just a whole nother hurt that I can't even explain. Like, we know, yeah, my mother and father, yes, we know this, and that hurt it. That truly hurt it. But a sibling, we just feel like we supposed to grew up together, right? And he was so young. At that moment, that was the same week my daughter was going to prom, so I didn't tell her to after her prom. Then 2 weeks later, after his funeral, it was her graduation from high school. So it was a moment of joy, but also bittersweet, because I didn't even really grieve my father, and now it's my brother. And so in that moment, I said, God, I can't take no more, because everybody look at me as the strong one, and they looking at me for answers spiritually, because I'm more grounded, or I'm not even saying I'm more grounded, but
You're back.
everybody look at me for answers and that strength from me. And at that moment, I was weak. I didn't know. I said, God, I don't know nothing at this moment on what you're doing for me. So yeah, that all occurred.
Wow.
Fast forward.
I wanna, before we get to the next part, like, I want to touch on the fact that something that stood out to me was that in the process of losing your mom, you had literally just birthed a book. So it's almost like, you know, we know that God is the author. Like, literally, He's the author and finisher of our faith. Like, He literally writes out our whole life, and
Yes.
it appears that even when we're going through dark seasons, it's almost, in a sense, in a season where we're literally birthing something at the same time, and birth comes with pain. And it's like, when we're in it, we don't really recognize exactly like what's going on, and something else, you were talking about starting a new job, when it came to your brother passing, and you are literally, like I said, it sounded like you were the backbone. Like, I don't think experiencing the trauma of grief back to back to back, like that, what did that do, like, for you internally? Like, I remember, just to, just share a little bit, just to kind of banter off what you're saying, like,
Yeah.
when I feel like it does something, especially when you're a person that's a believer, you and God, and you loving God, you in prayer. Like, for example, for my situation with my brother, I had dreamed it a month prior, to him passing. And so I'm like coming against it.
Yeah.
Here I am, this intercessor, Roko Shatai, in the name of Jesus, I bind the spirit of death. I'm coming against all of it. Then for it to play out literally verbatim to what I saw
Yeah.
in the dream, it took me into a dark place because I didn't doubt that God existed, but I'm like, I don't feel like praying. Like my prayers work. I don't feel like intercession work. So
Yeah.
it took me into a dark place. Like I didn't want to pray. I didn't want to talk to God. I'm like, how could this happen? Very much like, your brother, he was young. He was 18, and we grew up in the hood. We grew up by way of hard knock. We grew up through the struggle together. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like we had to share one box of church's chicken together.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
hand wash our clothes. So I feel what you say when you say
Yeah.
like, that's a bond that we were supposed to grow up together and grow
Yeah.
old. So
Yeah.
like what did that do to you internally to have to experience back to back to back trauma? Did it bring forth like an isolation, a feeling of abandonment? Like how did
Yeah.
that, what did that do for you internally?
Yes. So with my mom, if we go back to 2021, when we had launched the book in 6 hours, we became number one bestseller, right? So at that moment, we had hit number one on Amazon. I started getting other deals like podcast interviews and started mentoring young adults in Jamaica that wanted to be authors. And so it was a lot of success with that, Lord, in that moment, a lot of joy. And in the first book that I wrote on Prayers for the Boss Babe, the title that I wrote is The Rewards of Suffering. And I talked about how if you suffer with God, the rewards will be great. And I did not know what I was writing that I was going to experience that. I did not know that. And so when we launched Prayers for the Boss Babe Volume 2, kind of the same thing, that same day we hit number one. And so even through with all the success, I think it just was a drive. After I lost my mom, I had went into where I got certified as the grief specialist coach. Because like I said, God said he was going to allow me to grieve with grace. At that moment, I didn't know how to grieve. I do cry. I cry a lot. I cry not every day, but I cry when I make a lot of decisions. A lot of people see it, how strong I am. But honestly, I'm crying every time I'm doing something. I'm taking a risk. I'm doing it afraid, and I'm trusting that God. Okay, you told me to do it. I'm gonna never live in doubt that or live with the resentment of I should have did this. I'm gonna try it. And so after I had lost my mom, I started helping others. That was at that time, people had some of my clients they had lost their mom, especially, so I could relate. Um,
Jesus.
I think I started turning to the world when everything that I thought, quote unquote, my life should have looked like. And when I got over I don't know, the expectation of what I thought my life would look like. When we was cleaning out my mom's apartment, I really couldn't do it, but we found the birthday card that I had got her one year, and I always wanted to give my mom a house. Like I'm like, oh, when I make it, successful, even though I came from a small town, that I really and truly, when I started hitting, feeling like it was success, and coming out of living paycheck to paycheck and actually financially free, I still had the fear of success because I'm like, okay, I ain't never knew it was really gonna happen for me. But when I found the birthday card, in the birthday card, I remember paying her rent that year. And I had said rent is on us or whatever from me and my daughter. And at that moment, I always thought I was gonna buy her a house. And so I felt like I had accomplished something while she was here on earth, that I can basically give back, even though we can never reward our parents for the sacrifices that they have done for us. I felt like that was something that I knew that God allowed me to see and I hold on to still to this day. I think I started turning into the world after my brother, honestly. When my mom passed, I was about to launch my home collection. I'm an interior designer, AMG Interior Designs. I do that as well. After my mom passed, well, before she was passing, I was about to launch that. a home collection where I was going to sell candles, bedding sheets, and decorative pillows, right? And God said, whenever you go into those clients' home, that you was going to bring him with, me when I go to those clients' home. Um, I put that on burn. I have been putting that on the back burner, and I think so much because it was a significance that I knew that I wanted to launch that year, and I just cannot pick it up, and I still haven't picked it up yet. Um, I started turning back to the world, or turning to the world after my brother, but after my mom passed, of course, it was around COVID, we doing virtual church. I never really fully went back into church. I didn't, not trust God. I questioned him. I said, God, I don't know why all of this happened like it did. But I'm trusting you through it, but I still don't understand like what I'm going through. And so I started turning to the world, honestly, I think in the year 2024. Turn to things that just trying to fill voids that it's only temporary, but I had to experience that, and we can talk more, and we can go more in depth into that. But I did turn to things that I have never had turned to before. And being a Christian woman, being a woman that was on a prayer team, being a woman that loved God, being, going into prophetic spaces and shifting atmospheres, calling things and commanding things by fire. I knew God. I still know God, but I was struggling. And a lot of people don't talk about that. They just put on this church face or this persona
Come
that
on.
everything is okay and you're breaking inside. And it wasn't until I started going through therapy and she started breaking down the layers of my trauma that I'm like, okay, I
Mhm.
know God is not pleased with me. I know this is not right, but He is still showing me
Mhm.
grace. He's still, His mercy and His grace is still sustaining me, and He didn't let me stay in my mess, but He covered me. He shielded me from all of that. Because a lot of people some stuff they do it publicly, and you in this light, and it get exposed, right? But God covered me through these years, and so yeah.
Come on. Like, listen, I don't think, and see, that's what I love about this, because transparency is so powerful. Like you said, God, there are people that, and I feel like it's the heart posture of the fall. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
are you just flat out wicked, or you really wounded from a
Yeah.
season? And I feel like, even with the grieving with grace, that means there's a measure of grace that is required, in the midst of going through the grief. Like, I 100% like understand. Like, I was right there with you. Okay,
Yeah.
I backslid, went into darkness. I'm angry, with God. I didn't lose faith. Same like with you. I'm this prayer warrior, and this prophet. I'm prophesying, but the moment that it came for me to prophesy life back into my job, I didn't want to do it. I wasn't prophesying no nothing. I don't want to
Yeah.
talk. Don't call me. Had the saints calling. Don't decline. Like, I didn't want to talk
Yeah.
to nobody. And it, I do want you to go deeper. Like, because I understand. Like, nobody talks about the ugly phases of life. Grace is needed. You know what I'm saying? When you are grieving, and
Yeah.
like, I went into drinking. I'm drinking beer out of a wine glass. Never drunk
Yeah.
beer in my life, but I'm drinking beer
Yeah.
out of a wine glass. I'm,
Yeah.
uh, smoking, like, just doing all the familiar things
Yeah.
that I had been delivered from prior to that.
Yeah.
That wound did something to me that, drew me back into that place. And so, yeah, like, let's talk about it.
Yeah, so like you said, like I was, feeling voids that only God can really feel. But yeah, went into the world drinking, smoking marijuana, to cope with it, getting high, just letting days go by, taking gummies, just doing all these things, worldly things, to numb things, numb numb just what has happened, it was days where I'm like, who am I now? Like, God, where do I go from now? Like, God, I feel so far away from you. And the enemy will try to, isolate you and make you feel like that. Like I went through anxiety, I went through depression, I had a psychiatrist at one point, because my therapist was like, I can't really diagnose, but I feel like you need something, to stay focused, and all of this with your anxiety and depression, because I was just in a dark place, right? I knew God still loved me. I really couldn't even say, God, I love you. God, good morning. Like I couldn't even, when I waking up in the mornings, I couldn't even say nothing to him. I'm just numb at this point, like, okay, God, even like in my mom's funeral, I, did a lot of podcasts and interviews, like I said, with the book. And so when they asked me to speak, on my mom, I'm like, I said, I'll do it. But then the day of the funeral, when we pulling up, I'm like, I can't do it. Like, I can't do it. And immediately my sister looked at me and she said, you can do it, and I just knew that if I did not do it, that the enemy was going to try to silence me the rest of my life. And my purpose, what God had already sustained here on earth, was just going to be forfeited, right? Because I can speak to people that I don't know. Like now I'm on your podcast and I'm speaking to people. Why not speak on a woman that has birthed you in this world? And so at that moment, the grace of God just went over me. And even in my father's funeral, I spoke. Even in my brother's funeral, I spoke. And so I just knew that there was something God had already ordained for me to do. But even in the midst of all of that, what I'm saying, I'm still turning to worldly things. I'm still, I just wasn't myself, right? And it was moments at night where I'm, maybe so high to the point where I'm crying, like, Lord, this is not me. I don't know how to get back to you, And so it wasn't until, so that happened. My brother passed in April 29th. His funeral was like around Mother's Day in May. My daughter, like I said, graduated in May of 2024. And so I was starting a new job. I had started a new job in June. I was going to start a new job in June. But the crazy thing and strategic thing that God had did that moment when my father passed on that on Friday, when he passed on that Good Friday, on that Monday, I'm in Mississippi, I get a call and I got a job offer. Mind you, on the application, I had put one salary amount, but they increased it like $5,000 more when they offered me the job that Monday. And I'm like, God, I just lost my dad, but I just got this major job offer that don't start to June 3rd of 2024. And so he allowed me to start that job after everything, after my daughter graduation, after my brother, funeral and all of that. And so I came back to, Houston after all of that, trying to get back, like I said, in some type of normalcy, and started this job. In maybe like 6 months later, or in January 2025, I just started feeling like I was going to have a breakdown. And I was telling my therapist, one day we get on a call, I'm just crying. I couldn't tell her why I was crying. She knew what has happened to me. But I just told her, I just feel like the weight of the world is on me right now. And she said, I think you need to take some time off. So she let me do FMLA. And that's when I started feeling like I could breathe again. And so all of 2025, I feel like God was ministering to me that year. The last Sunday in 2025, December of last year, this lady that I had went to church with, like when I first had moved here, I've been here 8 years to Houston. She invited me to the church. The church was like 45 minutes away. And I said, I think I'm going to come. And I went. And the Lord met me. Now, mind you, I haven't been in church in years, since 2021, when my mom passed. And like I said, it was due to COVID, but also me just couldn't even get back into it, couldn't even get back into it. And so that Sunday, the last Sunday in December 2025, God met me there. I go in, never seen this lady ever. I just knew one lady in there that had invited me and said it was worshiping, and it was a prophetic non-denomination church. And when I went in there, I just felt like I felt it, I was heavy, but God just started ministering to me. She came to me. I was sitting all the way in the back, and she ministered for me like an hour. She had told me things that nobody knew that had happened, like when my mom passed, all the way up to then. She gave me prophetic instructions to do. She told me and foresighted and showed me things that God was showing her about my tax business. At that moment when I went in there, I was so broken. That moment when there, October of 2025, I was struggling. I had my account had hit the negative. I wanted to start this big. So I was already doing taxes. I had a team of 6 people that year, but they was challenging me to get more people on my team. And so I met this lady, never met her physically in person still, but she's my mentor. Her name is Bethany. She lived in South Carolina, and she blessed me. She let me join her tax team for basically nothing. I paid, but it was basically nothing. God blessed me through that. So she started prophesying some things to me when I couldn't foresee what she was saying, because my account is in the negative. I had asked people close to me, and I usually don't like to ask, but it was to the point where I had to ask. My bills was behind. We didn't have food in the house, and I needed to ask. I had to break down the pride, and I had to ask. And immediately when I asked, I started getting crucified. Like, well, why is this? And it was so many questions. And I'm like, I thought I can turn to you. And so it hurted me. I was disappointed about a lot of people, people that told me at my mom's funeral that they'll be there for me, and they ain't now when I really need you. All of that. I was dealing
Yeah.
with it, but the Lord still was showing me grace. The Lord even had people that I didn't know to help me to get through that. 4 months later, when she prophetically told me about, so 4 months from that the October of 2025, when I was dealing with the actual struggle and challenges of life, she prophesied this to me in December. So I'm like, okay, Lord, I'm here with you. I had so many prophetic words, like, oh, your husband is coming, oh, this, and you're going to be successful. You're going to be wealthy. You're going to be doing this. You're going to be giving back and all these things. And I'm like, I'm here as a single mother, in Houston. I don't have a sugar daddy. I don't have people to help me pay my bills. Like, I'm out here really doing it. Like, I'm really paying it all. I'm doing it all. And she prophetically told me that she said that you're about to come into a whole bunch of money, successful. Your tax business is going to go to a whole nother level. She said, just don't forget God. And I'm like, okay, I'm telling her, I'm just crying at this moment because she's ministering to me. And she said, I feel like you need I'm nurturing like a mother. So like, she's giving me this motherly hug, something that I nobody can ever feel, but she was ministering to me at that time. Fast forward, tax season come this year in January. And like in 4 weeks, I think it was in mid-February, that's when my business hit 6 figures. I would have never knew that. Me coming from out the negative, you know what I'm saying? To the point where I'm have a team of 15 people now, because it was 6 people, then I had recruited some more people, so I had 20 at one point, then 5 kind of just, it didn't sustain, so we had 15 tax preparers, and we hit 6 figures, right? I at that moment crying because another like test had just presented itself to me. So I had went through some things where a person I grew up with attack my character, attack my finance, attack me when they see me at my lowest, when they helped me 3 years ago. Prior to that, they was bringing all of these things up that they did to me, and I'm looking like, okay, did I supposed to stay at that level where you met me, or did you know what I'm saying, you was been under me, you under my tax business for the past 2 tax seasons, and you've been close to me like a monitoring spirit, like a snake. I felt like you've been holding on to this stuff, that you wanted to say to me, because I wanted to lead my tax team in integrity. But of course, you can't miss really business and personal sometimes. That night, the Lord told me to look at my financials, because they had attacked me, said I never seen thousands of dollars. I would never see it. Said that I didn't have 2 pennies to rub together. Just all these things that they were saying so rude, bad about me, and I'm crying. I'm crying because I'm like, this is people that I grew up with, and you're talking about my struggles, and then the enemy will have you feeling like, okay, you just went out of a season where you struggle. You still don't really have it. You're doing taxes, but you don't see the fruit of taxes until mid-February, right? So the Lord told me to look at my financials, and in that night, I had already hit six figures. I couldn't believe it because I'm not really in it for, yes, I am in it for the money, but I didn't know we had already hit six figures at that time when the enemy was trying to say that I'm this person that would never see it. In that moment of my life, God told me and he ministered to me. He said, now, 4 months ago, I cannot allow them to help you because I wanted to get the glory. Because a lot of people can say, oh, I helped her get there. Or she needed me for this. Yeah, she asked me for that. You know how it is, family included. Those are the main disappointments, that I had these expectations of family members that wasn't really there for me. And it still hurt. I'm still healing from it. But God allowed me to live beyond it. God did allow me, and He shared this with me, and I wrote it down. He said, nothing that has happened to me was wasted. And when I heard that, I'm like, it all works for the good. I know that the good, all things work together for our good. And so I had to, count that as, maybe count it as joy. But yeah, so I had before then, let me just back. So the December 2025, I get this prophetic word. I was telling her what the Lord had already showed me. Strategically, he had already told me how to exit out of the job that that he had blessed me with in June of 2024 after my brother and them passed. So I left the job. I left the job in December 2025 just by faith. I was still struggling, but by faith, I knew what the Lord had told me. And so when God had allowed me to experience, now, yeah, we hit six figures in my business. I wish I had that amount in my account, but God had already set me up financially that he covering me for the rest of this year. Right. And so I'm grateful that what is this, July, that I still just has been working my business, that the Lord is, blessing me with, and other things that is coming along. But I would have never seen this day last year because I felt like, okay, let me do some Amazon Flex. Let me do like 2 or 3 more jobs to make ends meet and get back on my feet. But I did not know what the Lord had already had basically planned and ordained for me to walk into now. And so, of course, I'm grateful. I'm very grateful. Another tax season is coming up. I'm basically recruiting more people, but I'm continuing to let it. And my therapist, because at first I was like, no, I'm good with the 15, because it's a lot. And it was a challenge. But she said, no, I need you to continue to build the art. Like Noah, he kept building the art. And I was like, well, you want me to continue to add on to people? And she said, no, that is what the Lord is want you to do. And so that's why I'm kind of taking it as, okay, I know if it worked for me, I'm not a respectful person. I know God would do the same for you if you put in the work. That's all you have to do. Like in my business, that's what I kind of tell some of my tax affairs. If you put in the work, I'm giving you the blueprint. I'm not withholding anything from you. Like some people can in this industry, right? But the Lord has blessed me with it. So I said all that to say that's just a testimony of my faith. But when it actually turned, and I'm still struggling with a lot of things. Like I'm not that this holier than thou April. I still turn to the world for some things. The Lord is still working me on that. But something just recently happened in my life on Father's Day of this year where it just changed my whole outlook, where I have stopped drinking, I have stopped smoking, I have stopped doing all those things. And I'm trying to align my life back up to the Lord because I'm like, okay, my life is more precious than any of these things that may be triggering whatever has happened to me that led me into the hospital for 7 days. In that 7 day stay in the hospital, my daughter is here alone by herself. I'm at the hospital. Only thing she knew was I had went out for the night and I never came back. I'm in the hospital at this moment. And so at that moment, it was just a divine time. It was a divine time that I was really grieving. I was grieving of, my mom and dad not being there. I can't pick up the phone while I'm in the hospital and call them. It was nice where I just struggled some nights at the hospital. Nobody really here. I did have family come and see about me. And I'm grateful for that. But it was just an eye opener in that moment.
Wow. That, listen, and I love how real, you are about just your process, because there's there's levels to grace, I feel, when it comes to those that have endured things that some people have not endured.
Yeah.
And so for some people, it may look like, oh, why are you struggling with that still? Why haven't you done this, or why haven't you? Listen, some of the things that you have overcome would have taken some folks out of here.
Yeah.
And so I believe that's the beauty of grace. So even I feel like when God was like, Paul, like, can you please get this done? My grace is sufficient for you. There
Yes.
are certain people that I feel that the grace of God is sufficient because of the measure of suffering that
Yes.
they have had to endure through.
Yeah.
Like, and so there's like, losing people, there is not just painful, but those are wound, like, just like people say when you get in a relationship, it's a soul tie. Well, what
Yeah.
happens when it's your you were attached to the umbilical cord of your mother, or you were connected to your father, or even your brother? There are soul ties when
Yeah.
it comes to losing people that we're related to. So it creates a wound within the soul.
Yes.
And our soul responds in different ways. And
Yes.
so, just when I tell you that, yeah, your story is literally a beautiful story of God's love, his redemption, also his favor,
Yes.
because the favor of God is on your life. And I'm gonna tell you, and I'm gonna flow how I feel right now. There are people, okay, that envy, that don't understand,
Yes.
why certain opportunities open up for you, why certain doors open up for you, right? But they don't understand the measure of suffering that you have had to endure, and you didn't ask for it.
Nope.
There
I
is
did not.
greatness on you, like, sis, there is greatness on your life.
Amen.
And there is such a measure, like, just mentorship I just see around you, like mentoring other young girls and mentoring other women, who have just been through some of the things, and you were gonna say something, so I'm gonna get a floor back to you, but I'm saying, girl, you got me stirred up, okay?
Thank you. And I received that. I have heard that many a times. And when I was going through some of the things like being a single mother, because I was like, God, yeah, I'm being a single mother. It's hard, but I want a husband. I used to pray that all the time. Like before she make it to high school, I want a husband. It did not happen like that, right? And a lot of guys, when I started dating, and I know we'll talk about that, but when I started dating, they always ask me why you single or how long you been single, and I'd be like, well, I've been single since I moved here to Houston. Now it's been 8 years. They're like, oh no, I can't believe it. I'm like, yes, you need to believe it. I have dated, of course, dated me, and I don't know if they don't know the word dating, but we'll get back into that. But yeah, as I started talking to other guys, they be like, I can't believe that. I'm like, yeah, it is, because I don't want to settle. I don't want to waste people's time. I have learned that life is time you can't get back. Life is like a vapor. And so when I lost my mom, I just knew I wanted to create memories. And I don't want to waste people's time. If I know that we unequally yoked, hey, I know when I was in the world and we wanted, you know what I'm saying? We hanging out and I'm doing things with somebody that I knew ain't gonna be my husband. It was things like that. I knew, and God is like, and then when I finish, I'm like, stop talking to them, and they go ghost. I'm like, God, I'm breaking my own heart, because basically you chastising me right now because I ain't even supposed to be dealing with him. So I know we'll talk more about the dating, but I have learned, and the Lord said I had you to go through these things because it's gonna be other women, single mothers, what I'm saying? They looking at you, they see the success. And a lot of people tell me that, even some of my friends, they're like, April, you need to be more vocal, you need to be more outgoing, you need to share your life. They want me to be this content creator, because I'm like, I don't want to do that, because I'm very private. But I know that God is calling me out of that, right? Calling me out to be more transparent, be more open with people, and share, things in wisdom with people publicly, to share that yeah, they see my success. A lot of they see the awards, the accolades, they see all these titles, but who am I? Who is just April? I had to go through hell to get here, and a lot of people see my success, but they don't see the process of the hell that I had to go through, because I had to go through a lot. I had to fast, I had to, cry, I had to lose some things, I had to, to lose the gain, I had to, suffer with him. And like I said, I did not know when I was writing all these books and titles and stuff off of First Peter 5 and 10 that I actually have to. I was suffering with him so he can establish me, and so yeah, that's where I'm kind of at now. Like, God, I've been through the fire. It's some shoes that I know a lot of people probably couldn't walk in. I dare not want them to go through that I've been through. But I'm glad that I don't look like what I've been through. I'm glad that the glory of you still is upon my life. Even like I told you before, in backstage, that I went to the urgent care yesterday, I'm not feeling well, still not feeling good now. But I know that the Lord had told me to take this assignment. I know strategically, and like I'm saying, when I said I'm aligning back with the Lord, meaning that I'm not taking every assignment that come my way. I'm not taking every, because a lot of people text me and email all day on, features and magazines, but I have to be strategic in it, because I feel like I don't have to chase things, that things just comes to me. And so I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful that I don't have to chase things, or, put on a facade, or I don't know. A lot of people, I don't know. A lot of people do envy me. They are, oh, you just wear makeup and all of this. But no, don't have to wear the makeup either. But this is just what I like to do. I had been crucified about that, about I just wear makeup and I like to do all these things. Well, I like to do it and I want to do it. And the Lord blessed me to do it. And so I'm going to continue to do it. But
Jesus.
they don't know that even outside of the makeup, when I wash it off, when this go off, that I'm still dealing with things, like I'm not just trying to create this facade like I got it all together. No, I'm always going through something, but I have learned in all of this
Come on.
that I go through with God.
Come
When I was
on.
going through those things with the Lord, when the phone call stopped and when it's quiet and I'm alone, it's only me and him. I learned years ago is when my mom passed that nobody can ever hurt me than that hurt. So anything can happen to me. I can have an eviction letter on my no. Bills can be due. I thought that this guy was the one. And he hurted me. I felt like he hurted my heart. That hurt still don't compare to what I have already experienced. So it's just it's nothing to me. I have, of course, I'll go through it. I have to go through that. I had learned through the process to feel my emotions, but don't relate or rely on my emotions. Because it was sometimes where I just didn't know how I felt. I'm like, I'm okay when I'm really not okay. And so through therapy, she said, no, you need to learn how to feel your feelings and say, right now, I don't feel good. But I know that can change instantly. I know somebody can call me and say something and I can start, I can be cheerful at this moment. And so I had to learn to feel my feelings, but not to rely on them.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's beautiful. And I feel like that's what it's about. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times people suppress. You know what I'm saying? Like their feelings. We're human. God gave
Yeah.
us the emotion. And I feel like it's okay to sit in them for a minute, and like you said, not live through them. But you touched about relationships. Now, I kind of want to go into that.
Okay.
Um, so being a woman who is, has a calling, right? Obviously, okay, you have
Mm-hmm.
a great calling. A woman who is a serialpreneur. You are somebody that people look up to, people admire. You are a strong woman, and God has given you that strength through everything that you have had to endure throughout life.
Yeah.
You're a businesswoman, you're a mentor, you are a grief counseling coach, you are a three-time best-selling author. Like there are so many things that God has entrusted it, within your
Yeah.
hands to build, and you're building well. Like what
Amen.
how does that look, you know, f- and then coming out of all of that, what you had to experience.
Mm-hmm.
Um being this strong woman who's independent, not masculine, because let's just make it clear, okay? We can be bosses and still be feminine.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
you're definitely, like I said, poised with power. How has single motherhood and just singleness, looked for you, uh just going through these different phases and these different seasons of transitions, because this is what, you've been going through transitions and things. And so how has that looked for you?
Yes. Ooh. Look, I'm trying to gather the words. Like, how did it look? So I had my daughter at the age of 17. It was my senior year in high school, 2026. Not 2026. I'm sorry, 2006. So 20 years ago, I graduated high school. Had just had a newborn. Did not know what to do with a newborn. Like, barely out of high school. Me and her father was together. That was my high school sweetheart. That's all I kind of knew. Did everything with him. And so when we broke up when she was 3 weeks old, she was a newborn. We broke. We it was some cheating involved with him. And I told myself then, and I said that I don't want to grow, or I don't want to raise her in a dysfunctional relationship. I had seen that growing up, when my father, which my father before he passed, I'm so grateful that God restored him. But growing up, it was so dysfunctional in the household. He drunk a lot. My dad did drugs and all of that. So we was calling the police like every week. Like they knew us. They knew what it was about. And so I seen that. And so when I had my daughter, I did not want to go through that. I was like, even though I knew he probably wouldn't do that, but I'm like, I don't want to raise her in nothing dysfunctional. So when I seen him cheating, I said, you know what? I'm not going to take him back. And at that moment, and my daughter is 20 years old now, I didn't look back. It was hard though. It was hard. And through the process, I have dated, tried to date guys, and I wrote that about on one of my other books, ladies in waiting. Six is your crown. And every time that I write a book or write, and partner and collab with any book collaboration, the Lord have me writing and healing. And so in that book, I talk about this relationship that I had like 8 years ago at that time, where he was the perfect gentleman for me. He never did nothing wrong to me, but because of past trauma of my daughter's father and the prior relationships, I treated him so bad. I self sabotaged a lot of things. And so the Lord had me to right some wrongs. Now, the Lord told me to reach out to him and apologize. I didn't know, we didn't follow each other on social media, didn't know his number, but I found his social media. I messaged him and immediately he called me. I told him I apologized. I started writing this book and all of these things started coming back up to me. And I said, as the woman I am now, I want to apologize because you never did nothing to me. You was the perfect gentleman to me. And his response to me, I knew it was God. His response to me said, April, when you left, a part of me left with you. And I knew it was a soul tie that needed to be severed. I know it needed to be broken. And so I say all that to say, in dating, I had to learn my identity, who I was, because I had took on this motherhood, which that's my perfect title. That's the everything that I do is behind my daughter. I knew that I didn't want a lot of men around, so I never shacked. I never had men around her. I don't think they ever. She have seen some, but she haven't seen all guys that I have dated. And I had that standard. And I'm still having that standard, and I'm not leaving with nobody, as I know. And so, for those years, I just kind of put myself in a box. Like when I moved here to Houston 8 years ago, the first 2 years, I'm trying to get back on my feet. I'm trying to hustle. I'm trying to get my name out there. People don't know me because at that time I was only doing childcare. And so I was mainly focused on that. And so when I started entertaining dating, of course, it's a big city. If I go out, yeah, I give a number here or two. We're dating. We just going out. They're telling me they want a relationship. They want to move forward, but their actions is not aligning. So I'm not wasting time, basically. And so with the dating, which I love about dating, and I don't know why people take the fun out of dating, is you just getting to know someone. You don't have to have sex with them. You don't have to do all these things. Yeah, you can. If you want to date Monday through Friday, you want to go out and entertain, I feel like it's okay. That's how I feel. I was doing it at the time, just trying to get to know people, but it was still trying to draining. It was still trying to wasting time knowing that, okay, I don't think this will work. And so I started doing like the online dating, the Facebook dating, and the different dating sites because I was just so busy in doing my businesses where I wasn't going out. I'm just in the house. And I have met some dear good guys. I have met, and even if we didn't really work, I love to network. And so how I really got my brand out here, being from Mississippi, I just only knew childcare. And then when COVID hit, I had to pivot. I had to pivot into interior design. I had to pivot as an author. God just been pivoting me, and now in taxes because I didn't even know I wanted. I never really wanted to do taxes, and that's a whole nother topic for another day. But I just, started meeting guys that way, and a lot of my family, they be making fun of me, like, okay, April, okay, who you with now? Who this? And I'm like, girl, let me tell you, because I'm always got some tea. I always got something going
Right.
on. It ain't me, but it's them.
Yeah.
No, that's how I
Yeah.
used to be.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, it ain't me, it's them. But no, it was me because it was so many things I was hurt and I was trying to feel voice in them that my father didn't affirm, that the Lord said he would affirm. That, what I'm saying, I was trying to, oh, I met him. Oh, he's the one. He can be the one. I know they prophetically prophesied to me and said he was gonna be tall, and this kind of
Trying to
that's
make
how
that
I was
prophecy
operating.
fit. Yeah.
Yes, that's how I was operating. And just not wasting time because nothing gets wasted, like I said. But it was just teaching me the do's and don't, kind of teaching me who I was. Mainly, it was like who I am, and you know what I'm saying. And so now, fast forward, I don't know. The Lord had told me, so I had went through something. I had, started talking to this guy. We made it out of the 30, 60 days. And I'm like, okay, this is good. And when I went to Mississippi, so I went to Mississippi in May for some graduations and birthdays. And the Lord had told me, it's like every time God take me back home to Mississippi, He always show me what's next. He always do that. So I knew that the Lord strategically wanted me to go back to where I was to show me who I was and to show me what He's about to do in my life, right? So I went there. I went there for 12 days this particular time this year in May. And so when I was there, me and him still like FaceTiming at night, the guy here. And I had said something which was totally I think he took it out of content. But he felt like I was rushing things because I'm like, okay, where is we going? What are we doing? Like, what is this? And I guess he didn't like the title, which I didn't want a title, but I'm like, okay, what are we doing? And that next day, he sent me this long paragraph and told me he didn't want to talk to me no more. And basically, he had a lot going on. He wanted to, and I was like, God, I'm in Mississippi crying because I'm like, I really was vulnerable with him. I really opened up. This is my first time, like, really breaking down the walls of, what I'm saying? This, and just was vulnerable, sharing things with him I never shared with people, just doing things that I haven't did the past 8 years. And the Lord told me, so I had called my friend in Chicago. Well, she's not really a friend. She's really a mentor to me. She's like a big sister to me. And I'm calling her and I'm telling her these things. And I was telling her, I was like, even in this time, I said, even though I'm in Mississippi this time, I'm grieving. I said, I've been in Mississippi prior, from since 2024. But I said, this time I'm grieving. My daughter, she's sad. I'm sad. And I didn't know we was grieving, like, okay, we here all these days and I'm missing my mom. I'm missing my brother. I'm missing my father. But I wasn't not trying to accept that. And so when I called her, she said, I feel like you don't need to date. She said, the Lord is saying you don't need to date anymore. And I was like, she said, I know you want to. She said, but I had to learn. And she said she went through 3 divorces to get to her Prince Charming, the man that she's with now, her husband. She said, and I don't want you to go through that. She's telling me you need to heal. She said, you do not need to date at all. And at that moment, I'm like, I don't want to hear that because I do. Like, I can't stop. I'm still dating guys. They know I'm in town here in Mississippi, and I don't know what persona they think I am. But I'm going on dates with them. I got dates lined up now, so I'm here. And so I did not want to hear that. I still did what she told me not to do. And it was just a lot of hurt too when I came back here, attaching to those, attaching to false promises, or knowing that I know I'm not going to move back to Mississippi, so what are we doing here? And so I just say that in the dating, I don't even know how to explain where I'm at right now, but I do know, like, after me coming back from Mississippi, I still was talking to some of the guys there in Mississippi, and I just they were saying they coming here to see me, but of course that's so far fetched. I always have to go back there if they want to see me. I don't know. I just felt like it wasn't nothing really true of it. So when I got sick for Father's Day, a lot of tests, like the Lord showed me like the heart of some people and heart of them. And so I just had to cut it all off. Like, I'm back at that point. So right now I'm really back at that point where I'm single and I want to be content. I'm single and I really want to get to know me. I'm single and I want God to be the forefront of my life. And if in that moment that the Lord send him, then when he feel like I am ready, like I feel like I need to get back into God first, my first love, my father, dad, what I'm saying, and love and really love me, really live in that singleness, that singleness is not a curse, that April, love you basically. And so that's where I'm kind of at. Like, I have, met guys still now. We'll talk here and there, but it falls off. I'm not forcing nothing. I just know that when he knows I'm the one, I don't have to go chasing. I don't have to text every minute. I don't have to be the first one to do all of these things that God is going to let me. He's gonna show me basically. And so that's where I'm kind of at. Going with the flow. Yeah, I do desire to be married. I'm 38 years old, and I have this time frame. Like, okay, I should have been doing X, Y, and Z. I have all these other things going on. God, where, yeah, I know you're trying to prepare me to be a wife, because I know that I'm a wife when he finds me, right? And so he's just positioning me to be found at this moment. I feel like he's just got me, covering me at this point. So I'm like, God, okay, where he at? But I know our timing is not God's timing, so I'm trusting his timing. I really am.
Amen. Amen. Listen, we get a little, like we be like, okay, Lord,
Yep.
like
Like, come on,
so
God, now.
I listen, and it is so true. Like, we be like, okay, God, I know this is like a time I need to, because also being content, like in singleness, there is benefits. You said something powerful, like singleness is not a curse. Like, and when you're dating, yeah, you're collecting data. Like, I don't have to commit to, okay, this is gonna be my forever person, but I am collecting data to see, because
Exactly.
it's like being single and allowing ourselves to, take on the things that God has assigned to us in our hands, while also being mothers, while also, just being busy with the other things that He has us being busy with. But then we want that companionship. But what I've learned, even within my time of, just singlehood, is like, okay, in those times of single, like just sitting before the Lord, like allowing Him to reveal me to me, like love on me, like I was telling you, I lost my dad when I was like
Hmm.
13. He was an amazing father
Yeah.
before I lost him. But he loved me. He showed me what, he took care of me. I didn't have a dad who just wasn't present. My dad was very present. And but as you get older, you kind of lose sight on just what that type of love looks like as you get older, from 13 years old to now 34. You kind of, you remember, but you kind of lose sight of what that looks like. And
Yeah.
it's certain things that I have realized, like within my singleness of dating, or getting involved with people. There's certain things that, if God doesn't make if God doesn't make me feel the way that you are making me feel, like, I'm learning in that quiet time with God, like
Yeah.
He's peace. Because mind you, and I don't mean to go churchy, y'all, but y'all, when
Yeah.
the word in, when it's in you, it's just in you.
You're right.
But every time the word talked about our relationship with God, He dealt with marriage, right? Like, because it's covenant. And I'm of the thought process that if Christ is willing to lay His down for His bride, if
Yeah.
He protects His bride, He loves His bride, He pours into His bride. If what you given is not that, if Christ is peace to His bride,
Yes.
Christ, He speaks to her a certain way, and if what you're given at this particular, if it's not matching how I'm supposed to be loved according to Daddy God, I'm collecting data, and this is not the data that is conducive for my life. So even what you talked about, when we lose people, relatives and things, it teaches you, you know, like you said, I saw the person, and I saw you make the status about that a while back. Like, I saw a person that I love in a casket. Like, can't nothing hurt me the way that, you know, that hurt. And that's real, because it's like, there's a way that you can go through certain things that allows you to detach from things that just are just not healthy.
Yeah.
Like, if I had to lose certain, you know, people that I love, family members, loved ones, and had to deal with the grief and the healing of that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not entertaining, you know, nothing that is I can detach from this, you know?
Yes.
So I think even sitting in the singleness, and like something you said, when the timing is right, like I truly believe it's so much that, you know, I've considered within that time. Like, we got kids, you know, you got a daughter, I got a son. So for me, I'm looking at, like, what type of example can this, because I can tell my son how to be, grow and be a man, but I can't show him that. And so I have to be, you know, careful of, even like you said, like, ain't nobody coming up in here. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, and so I have to consider those things, that even, you know, concerning, we have kids. So I
Yep.
totally get it, girl. Like, we just have to be, but you know, we do get, we, who is that to say I get
Yep. And
lonely?
also with our peace too, you know, when you was just talking, like I fought so hard for peace, right? I don't like drama. Like I've been that girl, you know what I'm saying, where he broke my heart. So I'm snapping out, you know, I was that at first. And I learned that it doesn't do anything, you know, it doesn't, you know, it's too much drama, it's too much, you know, I don't really have time for it. And so when the Lord started telling me that I need to, you know, have a life and have a life of peace, you know, even have an atmosphere here at this house for me and my daughter, to create peace, to show her that I fought too hard for it. So why would I have you come in and disturb my peace? And so peace is so expensive to me that if I see you, okay, being, I don't know, accusing me of this and doing this and all of this, and you can't agree to disagree, or you can't see me in the eyes of God, I'm done. Like, it's gonna hurt me, and it do hurt me. And I'd be like, okay, God, like I wasted this time. Like, I went to Mississippi, you know, I went out on a date with him, and now he's nowhere to be found. Like, I feel like I waste time, and I don't like wasting time. But when we create this atmosphere and this life of peace, it's so beautiful, because I love my peace. And so, and I know you do too. And I know us as women, just anybody, not even women, I feel like when you have fought so hard for peace, I don't want nothing disturbing that. And so, yeah, that's where I'm kind of at now. Like, I'm in a peaceful place. I'm in a content place. No, I know my heart is broken. I know there will be times where I'm grieving and I want to pick up the phone and I'm crying at night, you know, or I feel lonely. I'm, you know, in this bed by myself and I want a man here. I just know that at that moment, the right time, that the Lord would give it to me. But He has also allowed me to live all of these years and live beyond things peacefully. So that's what I'm kind of after.
Wow, that's amazing, sis. That, you listen, you just spoke a word, peace. That's all we
Peace.
that's all we
Yeah.
want. Peace. Well,
Yeah.
this has been like super amazing. Like, when I tell you, God has been all over this this
Yes.
broadcast, and you have truly blessed me. Like, you have blessed me, and I'm really grateful to God for your transparency. Just hearing, you know, just looking at you from just from the eyes, like just looking at you, I would have never ever, you know, guessed that you have went through, or imagined that you went through, just the measure that you have been given. And I think it's important, you know, for people to realize, like, people are literally overcoming things that would have taken, okay, folks would have lost their mind, you know,
Yeah.
or some folks go through this and they get
Yes.
lost and stay in darkness. And so my prayer and my heart is that this broadcast would reach, you know, who it needs to reach. If there's somebody that says, you know what, I've never heard it, I never heard someone go through something like that, just like me, and that it
Yes.
encourages them, that a seed is planted, you know. And
Yes.
so I'm super grateful to God, like literally grateful for you coming on, being willing, and just being obedient, even in spite of going through the attack in your body, and just going through coming out of the hospital, then getting sick
Yeah.
again yesterday. Like, you literally fought to push through and to plow
Yes.
just to get on the broadcast. And so I am covering you in prayer. I'm thanking God
Thank
for
you.
you. And I want you, before we get off, I want you to let people know how they can purchase your books, where they can find them, how they can get in contact with you for speaking engagements, because she is a speaker. She is an entrepreneur. She's a mentor. Okay. Bring her in to your, business workshops and things of that nature. Like, I believe in pulling people in where there's fruit, there's manifestation of what they do. Okay. And she is one that I believe that heaven endorses and heaven trusts, with a lot of things. And so also how they can get in contact with you and how they can find your books.
Yes. So first, I want to thank you for having me as your first guest. I didn't even know that, this was the start of something, but I had seen, what you had put on social media, and I looked at it, but, I kept going, and then the Lord had highlighted back to me. So I'm so grateful for your yes. I'm so grateful for God allowing me to take on opportunities, right? Because like I said, for this whole year, I haven't been doing anything, and so when God told me yes and a go for being on being a guest here, and just being on here, I am so honored, and I'm so grateful that a God still see purpose. When we did meet at the Women of Purpose event, we were standing beside each other, and I accepted the award, and I remember saying, God, I don't even feel worthy of this award," and it was because of all of the things that was going through, and I felt like, okay, God, I don't even feel like accepting this, but I knew what God had ordered strategically, and so. Fast forward, what, a year or so later, we here again, and I'm so grateful that I met you just in that moment, your presence, and I remember seeing your name, and so I'm so grateful that God is just like it's a full circle. So I'm so honored. I don't count it lightly at all. So thank you again. How they can reach me again? My name on social media is April Marche. That's April Marshea. It is just my middle name. I don't have my last name on there, but that's my Facebook handles. I do have handles as AMG Interior Designs, AMG Enterprise, AMG Tax Solutions, author April Greene. And so where they can find my books, I have a majority of them now is on hand, but they're still on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and Walmart.com. But I do have personal copies if you want signed from me. If they're trying to reach out to me, of course, my email, it can just be my general email at this time, April M. Green 34 at gmail.com. And that's just one of the emails just coming to me because I have several. But you can always DM me. I'm reachable. I want to continue to be reachable. I want the ministry and everything that I do. The Lord said to continue to, don't ever feel like you have made it. Always to have that humbleness. And so I want to continue to be reachable, but still chosen and set apart. And so, yeah, you can always reach me on any of those handles. If you want the books, I can definitely send invoices. I do have Linktree, and that's all on my Facebook social. On my social media handles. You'll see all of the links in my Linktree, where you can reach me further.
Amen. Amen. Yeah, y'all better get like locked in, y'all. Get connected, okay? Get connected. Cause you're gonna remember that face, okay? Look at that face and you're gonna remember that face.
Yes. Thank
Now,
you.
the last thing I would like you to do, sis, is just give a brief, quick, encouraging word to people that are healing or going through those transitions from grief, learning their identity, stepping into their, wealthy place. And just keeping themselves and knowing their worth in a season of singleness, and just people that are dealing with all those things as a whole. Just feel free. It can be brief, but what would you say to people that are in that season of transition?
Absolutely. So what I would first say is to acknowledge it where you are. You don't have to be perfect. God is still with you. Don't ever feel like he's so afar. I feel like he was so afar, and then I had listened to a sermon where God is just waiting on you. He's still there, and so I feel like he's gonna always be there. He said that when you make your bed in hell, he'll be with you, and so I just feel like he's with you now. He's still with you. He already knew that this moment, this season, this chapter of your life was gonna happen. I will also say, to really sit down in it. When you sit down in something, you have to own up to it. I have to own up into all of what I have been through. I'm just that transparent. Like, I'm not a person that things fall on deaf ears when you're telling me something. Maybe I don't want to hear it then, but it's going to be a seed that has been planted. So I feel like, and I do know that because all the hell that it, for me to get here today, on this broadcast, that I knew that it was, even if it's just helped one person, I know that God has, his plan and his purpose has been, has been prospered, or has, it was all, it was God. And so I feel like you can't ask yourself, who am I now? God will give you those answers. He's a father that he will answer those questions like, God, why did this happen to me? He will tell you, he will tell you, he will show you, he will definitely talk to him if you do spend time with him. I do want you to press through the pain and let you know that whatever you experience, you may not have experienced the loss of a loved one, but a loss of something, loss of, the expectation, or I don't know, whatever it is that you're experiencing right now. But just know that I have experienced a lot, and it's just a half of what I have been through. And so are you. All of us go through something, the measure of it. And so I just feel like God is with you. Press through the pain. I had to learn that after the grief of what I had experienced, that the Lord told me that grief would never go away, that I had to learn to adjust with it. And so I just learned that some mornings is better than the others. It's times, or if I see Folgers coughing, I'm thinking of my mom, or if I'm hearing a voicemail, I'm reflecting on it. And I feel like the tears, it's just moments of memories that God allowed. I'm grateful that he let me, her be here all these years, and just reflect on the time that you did have your parents, or have whatever that you have lost or grieving through. Count that as a blessing, that the Lord allowed you to, experience them on this earth. But also I want you to keep in mind that the Lord always told me, don't live in the facade of what ifs, because your mind or the enemy can always trap you in, oh, I should have called her this day, oh, I should have did this. And the Lord strategically had it purposely planned how it did. So don't be caught up in the what ifs. It was also, and I want to go back to this, and I feel like the Lord is sharing me to go back to this, when I had to pray God's will be done when my mom passed. After her funeral, my prophetic friends, I'm at their house, and I was telling them, I was like, the Lord told me to pray this prayer, but he told me something so profound that is still with me 5 years later. He told me that the Lord told you to pray that prayer because God's will had already happened, and he didn't want you to be upset with him and lose sight of who he really was as a father, because it had already happened. And so I just feel like, be okay with what has God allowed, knowing that he allowed it, and you can live beyond it. I'm a living witness. We right here as women of God is a living witness that you can live beyond it. So be encouraged.
Wow, that was powerful. I really appreciate that, and I'm pretty sure that it fell on some good ground. So that was deep.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, woman of God. I really
Absolutely.
appreciate you coming on. So yeah, you guys go ahead and go and follow her, and just stay connected to her, and just all the other up and coming events that she may have planned. When she begins to expand, she is, like she said, gonna be expanding her team. So if you are somebody that is interested in getting into the text industry, go ahead and connect with her. And I'm pretty sure that she's going to be an amazing mentor, and someone that you can be under. So I'm excited, and I'm just super grateful for her coming on. But we
Absolutely.
are going to go ahead and check out, y'all, and until next time, y'all, continue to press on in God. We love y'all so much. God
Yes.
bless you, and we'll see you next time.
Oh, every scar has a story. Every story has a purpose. From the pain to the healing, there's hope beyond the surface. Oh, every story matters. Oh, every story matters. Welcome to Couch Conversations.